It is your host, E.I. Smith. Today's date is Saturday, June 28, 2019. The time is 6:40 p.m. I am on US 1 in Pompano Beach, right at the border. I'm going to get some gang stalking caught on camera for you this evening. You're looking for synchronized obstruction of movement, synchronized space crowding, an abundance of public service vehicles, and general synchronized, orchestrated gang stalking activity. Let's go. I have 24 minutes of recording time. There's our first instance of synchronized space crowding. That is a South Florida cyclist that refuses to use the bike lane. There's a lot of those in the area. They are a part of a unit. Those are not individual, random interactions. Those are contrived, derived, and that cyclist was at some point today instructed to ride past this particular spot at this particular moment for a reason that may or may not be known to him. But I do know the reason, that he was sit this way at this point in time, right here and now, and on the sidewalk rather than the bike lane, and that was to obstruct my movement. I've said in previous videos that principal gang stalkers control the action and the street level gang stalkers take the orders. It's kind of like the Third Reich. The SS was told what to do. They didn't always know why. They were told to do this or that to populations in Germany and Poland. They just carried out the orders. But the ones doing the orchestrating, the ones making the commands, they were the master planners. They were the holders of the blueprint. And they were the ones that ultimately knew what the SS's actions were supposed to accomplish. Now, what are gang stalkers' actions supposed to accomplish? The complete and total destruction of the targeted individual, the destruction of their interpersonal relationships, the destruction of anything that resembles an education, the destruction of the target's work life, the destruction of their health, the destruction of their well-being, and ultimately the destruction of their psychological state, which will more or less equal an early death for the targeted individual. Now, that was synchronized space crowding we just saw. That van did not dart in front of me, but that was synchronized space crowding, because the very second, and you can go back and look at any video I've posted, it happens in every single one of my videos, the very second, not a minute before and not a minute after, but the very second I get to anything that resembles a driveway or crosswalk, there is a car coming to obstruct my path. That just happened with that white van. With that white work van, it was right there at the corner. It's the very second I got to the corner. That is synchronized, time, orchestrated gang stalking activity based on my direction and movement and speed. Right now I'm headed north on foot. I'm walking at about 3 miles an hour, and knowing that that is my direction and speed, the principal gang stalkers, the ones that do the orchestrating, can send waves of vehicles at me and tell them to make this turn or that turn based on my movements, direction, location, and speed. That is how they do it. You've never seen so much math and so much planning and so much strategy going into the harassment, obstruction, destabilization, disruption, and aggravation of one person. But you get to see it with me, because I intend on recording this gang stalking activity, namely the gang stalking campaign against my life, until it is fully dismantled and thrown into the trash can of history. Because this is a historical project. It is a historical movement. It is a historical set of actions. And it is right in line with the former CIA program, MK Ultra, which you can read about on the CIA's official website, and the former FBI program, COINTELPRO. You can read about that on the FBI's official website. These were programs devised in the 1960s and 70s as human experimentation programs that were meant to disrupt the lives in respect to MK Ultra of regular citizens in various capacities, and with the FBI program with dissident groups such as the Black Panthers, the Ku Klux Klan, various Puerto Rican dissident groups, the New Left, and the hippie movement. All of these dissident movements and groups were disrupted by the COINTELPRO program. That program was dismantled in the 1970s. The FBI has since apologized for it and renounced it. However, that program is now back in effect, and it is back in action under a new name, gang stalking. And it is more pervasive than ever before. Why? Because we live in the digital age. And with the advent of cellular technology, stingray devices, GPS monitoring, and other forms of sophisticated tracking mechanisms, principal gang stalkers can send units of street stalkers at a person at any time of day, 24 hours a day, including inside of their own home. If you go to my Twitter page at Senate and House, if you go to the Moments tab, you'll see where in several different instances, namely 10 times over a 12-month period, my Dayton area townhouse located at 2077 Lakewood Drive in Dayton, Ohio, was burglarized, vandalized, and abused. How is it possible that a man's home could be burglarized 10 times in 12 minutes? Extreme gang stalking is the answer. My immediate neighbors had to be somehow distracted. So either on the apartment complex's property or off the apartment complex's property, units of gang stalkers, here's our first public service vehicle, See all that smoke? That's part of gang stalking, polluting the lungs of the targeted individual. So anyhow, my neighbors had to be distracted at some point so that the stalkers could enter my apartment with impunity and without consequence, damage my property, damage the apartment, and leave safely. How did they know I wasn't going to pull up in my car the minute they walked in? Well, because they knew where my exact location was. Not the people breaking and entering, but the principal gang stalkers that instructed the criminals to go into my apartment and vandalize it. The principal gang stalkers, the orchestrators, they knew what my location was. Maybe I was at University of Dayton. Maybe I was at the grocery store. Maybe I was at the library on campus. Maybe I was at a gas station that was 20 or 30 minutes away. Maybe I was at church. Maybe I was doing something else. The principal gang stalkers did not send those imbeciles into my apartment until they knew that I was far enough away to where I wouldn't arrive when they were there. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I kept a .45 caliber Glock in my apartment, more synchronized space crowding to my left. As I've said before, the very second, ladies and gentlemen, I get to a crosswalk, a driveway, or anything that resembles a walkway or other similar structure that has a driveway in it, a crosswalk, for example, there is a car immediately coming my way. Ladies and gentlemen, that is synchronized gang stalking activity. And it is meant to obstruct, annoy, and irritate the target. And ladies and gentlemen, these ignoramuses have succeeded in doing that. Now I want to talk about that BMW that nearly ran into me just now. That person may or may not have known that their actions were going to be obstructive to another person. That person in that car may or may not have known that the person that was getting ready to walk across that driveway was a targeted individual. But somebody knew. The principal gang stalkers knew. The orchestrators of this program knew. That's why they instructed that person to do what they were doing. Now, who knows what that person was told? They could have been told, we want to recruit you into a community watch program, or we want to recruit you into a state-of-the-art statewide surveillance program where you just drive around in your car and look for suspicious stuff. All you got to do is answer the call when we get in touch with you and leave when we tell you to leave. Yes, I realize that the difficulty in synchronizing a person to that degree to where every time they reach a certain location, they are nearly the subjects or the victims rather of a collision. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with the kind of technology that these gang stalkers have access to and the type of strategic resources that they have access to, not only is it a possibility, but it's a reality. Now, I have 10 minutes left, and I'm going to keep recording as usual till the end, at which point the video will stop due to lack of storage. Crossing the bay here. Cars speeding past like that, that's street theater. The Island Club high-rise apartments on US 1 northbound. So back to what I was saying about my apartment. The way it was orchestrated was my immediate location was always known. And the people vandalizing my apartment were giving a time frame based on my location. If I was relatively close, like maybe 30 minutes away, they say, okay, you got 10 minutes to vandalize this man's unit. If I were further away, like maybe 40 minutes away, they'd say you have 20 minutes to vandalize this man's unit. Then you leave right away. And the reason that they set it up like that was because I owned a .45 caliber Glock that was a Smith & Wesson. I had an extended clip that held 27 bullets, and I had laser sighting on it. I took it to the range once and used it to make sure that it shot good. And it shot great. And ladies and gentlemen, had I ever once came home and saw intruders in my apartment, damaging property, or doing anything that would constitute burglary, I would have pulled that gun out and I would have ended the lives of each and every one of them. More synchronized space crowding. Again, the very second that I get to a driveway or crosswalk or anything that resembles a walkway or a driveway in any capacity, there is a car there to immediately cut me off. That is obstructive, hateful, gang-stalking activity. And I intend on capturing every bit of it and posting it online for the general public to see and witness. Now you notice how there's not cars coming to stop that maneuver. They seem to always have a clear opening to cut me off. That has to do with the stoplights being rigged, and it also has to do with the traffic. The traffic is not random. The traffic that you see in this video is about as random as gang stalking is. It's orchestrated. These are not individual people driving around minding their own business. They're a part of a unit. And they move in units, and each car is told to drive up the street at a different speed. And when you get done with all the calculations, and you factor in my location, direction, and speed, you could very easily orchestrate a maneuver like what you just saw that individual pull on me and swerve in front of me, because there were no cars coming to stop that maneuver until I got safely to the other side of that driveway. It was timed perfectly to where the very second I got there, he was to swerve me off. And that's the point. The point is to get me in front of cars that are moving past me in a way that is very obstructive and very close call. The goal is to get me as close to these vehicles as possible so as to obstruct me as bad as possible. Now, this is street theater as well. This is supposed to resemble a noose. There's a lot of stuff like this laying around on sidewalks in South Florida. And it's certainly racist rhetoric. Now, it doesn't appear to be tied, but you saw how it looked on the ground. That is what that is supposed to symbolize. Ladies and gentlemen, that is street theater, and it's hate rhetoric. It's not the kind of thing you report to the police, because given recent trends, the police will not be able to properly investigate it. Why? Because there's a lot of police officers and sheriff's deputies that are in hate groups. There's a lot of these men that are in neo-Nazi, neo-fascist, and other kinds of hate groups. You see a lot of these laying around too, objects with barcodes on them. 2 minutes left of recording time. Looks like Haymanetics, RC2D, 500 milliliters, triple, CP2, CP2D /AS-3, Luca Trap RC system. It might have something to do with cancer treatment, or something to do with leukemia.